Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Top CEO says XRP stands with purpose. People betting against XRP will regret it. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, so who is the CEO in question here? It's Jake Claver. Friend of the show, I'm sure. But no, all jokes aside, believe it or not, I actually pretty much kind of agree with this, the general sentiment. So I will just say this before I do go further. This isn't me backing against anything that I've said in the past, like obviously my recent videos that I've done about his predictions being wrong and things like that. I stand on that completely 100%. But this is why I say I'm very objective here. Like if I see something I agree with, I'll agree with it. If I see something I don't agree with, I won't agree with it, and I'll tell you why. So in this, I generally agree with the sentiment, the overall sentiment. So let's get into it. So I've got the post here specifically from Jake, and then I'll expand on my thoughts on this. So XRP stands with a purpose beyond speculation. While others compete to be digital gold, XRP solves real problems, and its design wasn't an accident. The market rewards utility over novelty. Those who bet against XRP's uniqueness will regret it. Okay, so look, this is the thing for me, right? When I look at crypto as a whole, right, the thing that got me interested into crypto and really had me, thinking, yeah, this is definitely an asset class to be invested in, is when I just started to see the cryptos that could do things in terms of changing industries. So, for example, obviously XRP being used as a bridge asset for cross-border payments. So when I was seeing this and other cryptos that, had real big use cases where I could say, yeah, this is going to change this whole industry. Like this is going to really be something that's massive, of course. So that's when I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to invest in this asset class, and I'm going to find out the cryptos that have utility to invest in those. So I completely agree with the sentiment. XRP has utility, and I mean beyond cross-border payments, right? Because I know a lot of people look at cross-border payments as its main, purpose in terms of driving its price and stuff like that. For me personally, I really don't just look at cross-border payments, and I'd said this from a long time ago, and I even said this in terms of Ripple. Like, don't get me wrong, Ripple are XRP's, biggest supporters. They've got the most to gain from XRP being successful with having such a large amount in the escrow. But I don't just look at Ripple. Like, there's other developers out there creating use cases for XRP. There's other developers adding value to the XRP ledger and the ecosystem. So I've always looked at it as, yes, Ripple are a huge bonus. But at the same time, there's other companies out here, other developers who are also creating value to the XRP ledger. And so, there's other things that you can do with XRP, DeFi, tokenization, the AMMs. There's a lot of other things that you can look at and other use cases that will add value to XRP overall. And so, yeah, I generally agree with this, because I'm saying that in the end, I do think XRP will go higher up in value. So the simple thing for me in this is like, and this is why, like, when I look at this, I don't think you've got to think as big as like even like the $10,000 stuff to agree with this. Like, for example, what is XRP now? I haven't looked for a little while. I think the last time I checked, it was like $1.90 something. I'll be honest with you, when we're just chopping and changing and nothing's really going, I don't really look at my portfolio too much, because there's just no point. Like, you're just watching it going up and down like a seesaw. So it's just like, what's the point in keep on watching in that? So it's just like, what's the point in keep watching that? Like, it's just pointless, right? So I don't watch my portfolio every day, but the last time I checked, it was like, around $1.90, something like that, $2 area. So my thing about this in terms of betting against XRP, it's this simple thought process. Do you believe that if you buy XRP now at roughly, let's just round it up to $2. If you was to buy XRP now at $2, do you believe that over time you're going to lose money or make money? And that's how simple it is to me in regards to whether I agree with this or not. My answer is, I think you're going to make money. I think XRP will go higher than $2 over time. I think it'll go higher than its previous all-time high, $3 and whatever it was. $3 and some change. I think it'll go way over that as well. So for me, like, all I have to say is, like, let's just say XRP got to, let's just say $10. Let's just keep it really conservative. Let's just say XRP got to $10, right? And this was within the next, let's say next year or so. Well, you've made money. So betting against it would have been a bad decision, right? So yes, I would say betting against XRP in that scenario was a bad decision. Now, let's not get into like the comparisons, because that's when you're talking about a whole different story, because obviously people might say, well, I could have invested in this or could have invested in that and made more money. The thing with that is, that's the kind of thing where, like, you can't try and like know the future. You know, you're not a fortune teller, you're not an oracle. It's one of those things where you just put in too much pressure on yourself thinking in that way. Because, you know, we've seen, for example, Zcash have this, you know, bull run style, you know, move recently. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, why wasn't I in Zcash? And it's like, guys, there's like over 20,000 different cryptos out there. So for you to put that pressure on yourself and think, why didn't I just pick that one, you know, crypto out of all of them? Because, you know, you might say, well, yeah, it's a privacy coin. But even if you're thinking about a privacy coin, there's so many privacy coins out there, right? You could say, you know, Monero's had a bit of a run as well, but I don't think Monero's had quite the run as Zcash did. So you could have been in Monero and you might have been like, oh, I was in privacy coins, but I weren't in the right privacy coin. Oh, I was in privacy coins, but I wasn't in the right privacy coin. Or you could be in Pirate Chain, for example. I know Pirate Chain's another privacy coin. There's a lot of privacy coins out there. So you could be in a privacy coin, but just not the one that really pumped. So trying to say, well, if I'd invested in this, then, you know, I'd have made all this money. It's like, yeah, but, you know, that's like me turning around and saying, yeah, if I knew next week's lottery numbers, I'd be a millionaire. I'd be a multimillionaire. Like, yeah, we're kind of stating the obvious, right? We're using the benefit of hindsight. So for me, I really do look at this as quite clear cut. Yes, I think XRP has utility. It has a purpose. It can be used for things. And so because of that, I think the value over time will come. I believe that. So I do agree with this, generally speaking. Now, the only thing I'll say, you know, XRP stands with a purpose beyond speculation. My thing with that is, like, I do agree, but it is always going to be speculation that drives XRP's price. And that's just true for anything. Like, that could be true for gold, it can be true for stocks, it can be true for any crypto. It's always speculation. But yes, the utility is what will drive the speculation, right? So when you basically speculate on something, what you're basically doing is you're buying something with the assumption that it's going to go up over time, right? So if we just put it in proper layman's terms, if you buy XRP because, let's just say, we see XRP now being utilized by, you know, not all the banks in the world, but let's just say, you know, there's a certain amount of banks that are using it. Tokenization is going really well. Crypto adoption is here. There's, you know, governments using the XRP ledger, etc. Well, then people will speculate and say, oh, really? All these people are using the XRP ledger and it's doing all these different use cases? That's pretty good. Let me invest in that. You're speculating, right? You're investing thinking, okay, that sounds like something that's like a valuable asset. So if I buy into this, then it seems like it should go up over time because it's a very good asset and it's doing all these things. And so this is why when I say to you guys about people like making price predictions, this is why I say people can't give you a definitive price prediction, right? Like, that's why I say to you guys, like, it's pointless listening to price predictions because, like, it's not the utility that gives a figure amount. It's people speculating. That's what it is. So it's people seeing these things happen, thinking it's a valuable asset on the basis of these things, and then hoarding the asset, right, in hope that it will go up over time. And then more and more people do that. And so the supply and demand comes into play then, right? Because the supply is getting lower because more people are seeing this asset doing all these things and thinking, wow, that's really good. And they're buying it to invest in it and holding it. And the demand's getting higher because more people want to buy it because they're also thinking, this is a great asset. I want to buy into this. So what happens from that? The price is going up and then more people are seeing the price go up, which makes them more greedy to want to buy it. So they'll accept it for a higher price because they still think it's going to go higher. right? And so this is why I'm trying to show you guys. This is why you can kind of argue the whole $10,000 thing. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't intending to turn this into a $10,000 conversation, but here we are. But it really does kind of explain it thoroughly for you. Like if you just think about, you know, how XRP has been up until now, it makes sense. And that would show you why XRP hasn't just been rallying in price, because you go into bear markets and bull markets. And so when you're in a bear market, yeah, the sentiment is low. Everything's going down. So at that point, you've got fickle investors, right? Fickle investors are not people who are, you know, investing maybe based on the real belief in the crypto. They're maybe just here to try and make a quick buck. So when the price goes down, they start worrying, thinking the sky is falling and crypto's done and XRP is over. And then they panic sell, right? And so that obviously adds to like cascading effects. And then you've got people who have got leverage and then they get wiped out because they hit the leverage targets, the liquidation targets, and they get liquidated. And so it's a cascading effect. And this is generally how it works. So if you've got faith in the asset that you believe in and you believe XRP is going to be useful over time, then yes, you're holding it because you're speculating, right? Even for people who believe in like the $10,000 stuff, they are speculating because they're speculating that they think it's going to get to $10,000, right? So they're buying XRP on the basis of, I think it's going to go higher, even if that higher is $10,000. So I am speculating in this asset by holding it until it gets to that price point. Do you see what I mean? So it's all speculation. In all honesty, it's all speculation. But I do agree that when it comes to long term, like we've got 20,000 different cryptos out here, right? When it's all said and done, there's not going to be 20,000 different cryptos out here. Like when we've got regulations and things are a lot more strict and whatnot, and the rules of the road are a lot clearer, I think you'll see many cryptos that just don't make it. They don't make the cut, right? So you've just got to remember that over time, you will start to see the real cream rise to the top. And in my opinion, XRP will be there. So I liken this to the internet age, like when we had the .com bubble. You know, you had the .com thing happen and then you had a load of domains and everybody was just buying domains, but they didn't really have a business. But buying the domain became a thing where it was adding value to the companies, and a load of people were investing into the companies thinking, well, this is going to be a big company because it's got this domain. And a lot of them were garbage, right? And in the end, a lot of companies got flushed out. And then the few that were really true businesses and had a real business model and were genuinely here not to just try and make a quick buck and scam people, they're the companies that stood the test of time. And all the others went away. That's what we're going through right now with crypto. Crypto's come out. It's a hustle for a lot of people. They've seen how they can rug pull people with meme coins and stuff like that. So a lot of people are abusing the system right now. But eventually, we'll get the regulations and stuff, and then you'll start to see, okay, now it's time to see what networks are really going to stand the test of time. And that's when you'll start to see a lot of the tokens, a lot of the networks, they'll die out. They'll die out because they won't be able to hang, right? And then you'll have the real networks that have got the longevity that you'll see standing at the end. So in my opinion, I do think XRP will be one of those networks. I think it will be one that will stand the test of time, and I think it will continue to be more valuable. So my thing about this to answer the question is, when you say betting against XRP, to me, it depends on how you're thinking about it. But if you're just saying betting against XRP, my thing is, if you was to buy into XRP now, are you thinking or expecting that it's going to go down from where it currently is? And when I say that, please just understand, I'm not saying, like, for example, if it goes down to 160, but then later on goes up to $5 to $10, for example, I'm not saying, oh, you've won because it went down to 150 temporarily. I'm talking about long term. I'm talking like, could we invest into XRP now at $2 and then it goes down to like $1 and it just never recovers? And from there, we just range bound within like $1 or so. That's what I'm talking about. That's where, okay, you've won the bet if that's what you was hedging for. But what I'm talking about there, that's like temporary price dips. If it has a temporary price dip, but in the long term, you know, it goes up. Like if you think of Bitcoin's gone from, you know, $100,000 down to, you know, $86,000. I believe eventually Bitcoin will continue to go up. So again, yes, you may think, okay, I've won this short-term bet in terms of the price has gone down right now. But what I'm talking about is long-term, because that's what really matters. In the short term, yeah, you're just kind of day trading, right? Like on short term, yeah, you're just kind of day trading, right? On short term predictions and stuff. But if you're talking long term, is it going to go up in price overall long term? And that's what I think about. So yes, in my opinion, I do think people will regret it, because I do think, looking at the current price, I think it's going to go up in value. To me, that's pretty self-explanatory, pretty clear-cut. Unless something was to happen, which would be like an unforeseen circumstance, like a black swan event that really changed the whole trajectory of XRP. Like they found some kind of bug in the code or something like that, you know, it was exploited in some way. Like unless something like that was to happen, then, you know, I think XRP, we can already see how it's been going, you know, over the years. It's continued to expand. So that would be my take. So yeah, overall, I actually do agree with this. I think that's a fair point to make. And yeah, for me, as I say, like if you guys don't believe it, then yeah, fair enough. But I do believe people will regret it, because, you know, for me, I'll say this, I go into XRP way before these prices anyway. So I can already say I'm happy with XRP. Like I could take profit now if I wanted to. It's just that I believe it can go a lot higher. So I'm just like, well, why would I take profit now when I believe it can go higher? So, you know, and I am keeping some XRP anyway for just the long term, to see where it goes long term. Like I am doing that because I believe it will be a good network that has a future. So I'm keeping some to see how it goes long term as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts. But yeah, I'd like to hear your guys' take. So let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.